Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everyone doing today? Hello, 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 hello. How's everybody been? Oh, wait a second. Is this what Of course it is. Of course it is. Within the first few seconds of every stream, someone immediately comes in and gives me little head patties. Get some sleep nap time. Get some sleep, sweetie. Why are you awake right now? Why are you awake at all? Morning, Leon. You woke up with a headache. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. You're waking up. Oh. Well, for those of you who are waking up, happy to see you. It doesn't count as being late if you're here during the startup. I hope you know that. Yeah, I've heard that a lot of people are seeing the Northern Lights right now. Head pads refresh over time. You just have to be a little patient. I didn't want to get, head padded into infinity. Imagine somebody head patting me so much I go bald. You wouldn't want that, would you? I'd look so bad bald. Imagine me bald. Can you imagine that? Awful. Stop imagining me bald. Stop it, chat. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you so much for the follow. So we're going to start with our thing. You know our thing, right, lovelies? My lovely voidlings. We're going to start by congratulating those first, second, and third. Then going through everyone else and saying good morning to everybody who's checked in. Mewy Bond, good morning, Mewy. Good morning. What are you doing here? I didn't realize you get up this early in the morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Raiders, we do a really soft and calm stream here in the morning, but I think I can still make this work. Give me just a second while I load my raid scene here. But how are you doing? How was your stream? Did you stream well? Did you stream good? Did you win? What were you doing? Oh, and I'm not sure if we have any mods in yet. I know. You usually honk me. Here, let me take you somewhere real quick. So I had this room specifically made for raiders, the goal of this place was to make sure that I could eventually hit partner numbers. You see, like I got tired of people coming in and out and in and out. And so I figured if I was gonna do anything, I'd just do this. And drop them all here. So, enjoy your time in the cage. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. And thank you so very much for the raid. If you need to raid and run, well, I mean, you can take some respite in the corner, but yeah, you can't really leave. But feel free to head out if you need to, and I really appreciate you coming by. Did we get a shout out for you already? Here, let me make sure. No, there we go. I guess the mods are still asleep. Again, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And you were recently doing ASMR in Minecraft. Fun. I've only started letting them out recently. Alright, let's see now. Where were we? Right, so I'm going to be going through every person. We're going to be congratulating those who got first, second, and third, and then we're going to be saying good morning. Eat well. Well, if you ever want to yap another time, let me know. I can get you water. And we're going to say good morning to everybody who's checked in. Let's see if we counted properly today. Ooh, Tally. Tally got first. Congratulations on first. Dwarf got second. Congratulations on second, Dwarf. And Lunar got third. Congrats, congrats, congrats. And also, good morning to Dwarf. Thank you for checking in. Thank you, Poison, for checking in. Good morning. Good morning, Zio and Novio and Talissima. Good morning, Pandragon, Echo and Infernal. Good morning, Full Metal Brookie, Ghost Siren and Sakona. Good morning, Dexy and Ragnavider. Amy. We're going with Amy. Good morning, Calenthe and Sinful Microwave. Good morning, Now Time and Vividly Dreaming. Good morning, Yoshihiko and Meow Kitty Cat. Good morning, Lynx the Pug and Ghost Siren. Good morning, Butter Tub and Ocean. Good morning, Brum Brum. Thank you so much for the follow and welcome to the menagerie. Thank you again for the raid. Miwi. Good morning, Julia. Good morning, Leon. Good morning, Onyx. Good morning, Leon again. Oh, you asked for a stretch. Good morning. Crow Dreams, thank you so much for the follow and welcome to the menagerie. Good morning, Crucy. Good morning, Danny Cat. Good morning, this is Poco. Good morning, Brum Brum. And for Danny Cat. Good morning all, good morning all, good morning all. Some of you might have been here yesterday when we ordered my food and I was like, should I get the dumplings or not? And y'all convinced me to get dumplings. Turns out they forgot my dumplings, so the illusion of choice. Did I call? I don't know if you called. Who'd you call? Did you call? Did I call who? I'm so confused, Ghost Siren, but good morning. Alright. We're gonna be playing some hard. Oh, I mean, I ordered it through the Uber Eats app. I got a refund. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Alright. We're gonna be doing some hardcore Minecraft, as we always do. Should be a lot of fun, and I hope you all have a lovely morning this morning. Bye-bye, Buttertom, and good morning, Jay. Thank you for the check-in. I'm also eating the same chicken from yesterday. I mean, Cruzy, you're trying to sabotage them. I'm totally fine with them doing a little cheating. Not being a good sport. Alright. Why didn't I share the chicken? I mean, I suppose I could. It's pretty good. I'm going to turn on the audio of the game real quick before we get going with it. Let's see, game capture. There it is. Thank you for the stretch. There you go, and I think that's a good level for the music. Solar, it's totally fine. You don't need to stay awake. I get it. It is totally fine if you come in here and you want to just, immediately go to bed, or you can't even come in because it's too late. I get that. It's fine. It's no worries. Yeah. What is that noise? Oh. What? Alright. Is Karamiya here? Good morning, Karamiya. Karamiya, you missed our morning raid. You know Minecraft sounds? No. I think the Minecraft sounds are very, very well designed. They're amazing. They're done very, very well that you can kind of identify everything just from sound. I can't, obviously, but I think a lot of people probably could. In a good way. Yeah, somebody raided in this morning. Mewy, I believe is their name. We raided them the other day, but of course I don't remember names well. I think I have name blindness. Is that a thing? Why is there long sweating? Oh, because I burned down the woods. I burned down most of this area at one point. Okay, I have name blindness. Can I give you back pillows? We'll see. We'll see. Oh, yeah. And for anyone who hasn't taken their meds yet, who needs to take their meds, please take some meds, okay? No, I burned down the forest off stream. Don't worry. I forgot he has face blindness. Where'd that zombie come from? Weird. I'm sorry to hear that. Why won't I ever let us commit? Well, because arson's illegal. And, fight me, I don't know. Do I need to have a reason not to commit arson with you? No, it's still illegal even if you don't get caught. You're just not gonna get arrested. That's not how crimes work, people. I know everyone always goes, oh, it's only illegal if you get caught. It's still illegal. Yeah, I burned down trees. Good morning and thank you for the follow. Welcome to the menagerie. That's specifically what crimes are. Crimes are illegal. Fine, we'll set a fire from we'll set some fires for Karamiya, okay? I could use a little bit more space around the base anyways. It immediately started raining. It immediately started raining. What do you have to say for yourselves? Bye, Dea. Dea or Dia? I hope you're having a good one. Either way. It's not arson because it's not intentionally useful. Wait, so if I just burn stuff all the time, what is that? Just vandalism? I used to burn stuff as a kid all the time. I was a pyro. Crucy, that was extremely romantic and adorable, and I'm stealing that line. It's mine now. I'm kidding, but it was a really good line. What if I burn other people's stuff? Is that just property damage then? I'm just bored. Oh, well, I don't know what song it is, but I'm stealing it from that song. We'll make a pretty roof later. I just want something to cover so it stops raining on me. My intentions are good. My intentions are to make fire. Because you live in England, I don't know what else you want to tell me. You're the one who chose the country that lives halfway underneath the ocean. I just want a roof. Give me a roof. Oh, you're right. No, you right. You're so right. Netherlands does. Netherlands is a sin. I mean, I love the Netherlands, don't get me wrong. But I mean, no country has decided to so go against God and then be like, we've decided, no, mine. Ocean, you don't get this land. Which is so funny to me. I'll give you something to do. Here you go, sweeties. Sorry for just making you sit there. Yeah, put some stuff away. You got this. Yeah, well, see, Australia as itself is evil. Good morning, Mary Kiss Designs. I'm glad you like my content. Welcome to the menagerie. I hope you enjoy your time here. And thank you everybody who's checked in. We're going to add a good morning to Necronax, Calypsy, hi Calypsy, and Eli. I think we need more. Oh, wait, are we done with the sand yet? Yay. If I get hit by lightning, y'all, I will cry. Please don't. Why would you want me to cry? I know all of you will laugh. It will be very, very funny. Are you cute when I cry? I wouldn't know. I can fake cry pretty cute. I don't really think about how cute I am when I cry, unfortunately. Maybe fortunately. want to? You want to see me happy cry? Wait until I one day do this full time. As soon as I do this full time, I will happy cry. But that is gonna be ooh. I will actively cry on stream. I'm already planning on it. All right, everybody, stretch your back. If you're shrimping right now, Karamia. You like the happy wiggles? When aren't you? Because I also was. Isn't this lovely? I mean, not really this thing. This thing's kind of ugly, but it works. For the most part. If I could just find more redstone, I could finish off this row. And I could get enough food consistently. You did your nails with the Oshi marks. Oh, that's really cute. I'd love to see them. I'll plant some potatoes. I think it should be fine if it's the glass. See, my main goal here is to try to also make it so that, like, I really don't need to worry about monsters and stuff. Because we have all the vegetables inside. The bamboo is going to be growing itself, which I'll eventually do that all underground. The only thing I have to worry about is, you know, going into the caves, which then you expect monsters. Oh crap. Just kidding. Wouldn't it? I know it would be. Ooh, thank you so much for the redeem. You know, I was ahead of the game with that. That would work. Makeup and fashion would definitely work. Photo dump is also for like everything else, you know, so if you ever can't figure out a category. Good morning, Moreau. Hey, Moreau, guess what I downloaded recently? Moreau. No, take a guess. Take a guess. I did not download genital jousting. Good morning, Vigi. What is the one game that I mentioned to you that you're like, wow, I can't believe you uninstalled it? Yep. I played it with a buddy of mine the other day again. It was a buddy I hadn't seen in a long time. I said I would. not do that new game mode though. I don't like the new game mode. I mean, it's cool. Not general adjust with your family. You know, you might be surprised, but it's never been a thing I've ever thought my entire life that I might want to do. Good morning, Buggy. Thank you so much for the follow. It's greatly appreciated. And a reminder, by the way, yes, Discord, and do not forget there's also verification if you are on iPhone. There's an additional step you need to do. So, Clipsy said it was family friendly. So, I will be doing a few collabs coming up. One of them is going to be with Mumu, or Mukia, who's been on stream a few times, who's come by here. And it's also going to be with Goblin Fia. Two very cool partner streamers. We might see if I can get another person from that group in. Yep, Fia's good. We're going to be doing a collab with Fia. It's going to be like, it's this kind of chaotic party game. So we'll be, you know, hunting each other for sport. I don't know if it's going to be any good, but so I'm also going to buy them all another game. It's a very similar game. Because I'm so worried that they're going to come in, they're going to play the game, it's going to suck, and then the collab's going to suck. So I'm like, yeah, what if I also buy you this game just in case as a backup? Oh, you know what? I have an idea. Oh, I'm always nervous with collabs. Collabs are so hard for me to get right. Alright, I guess we're gonna be like this. But yeah, collabs are so... Oh, thank you, sweetie. Honey Bunch, are you feeling okay, by the way? No, you're lurking, you're fine. You can tell me later, alright? Collabs are just so difficult for me to get right. Because, my brain just shut off. Womp womp. Oh yeah, you never know like what the game's gonna be like. You don't know what the quality's gonna be like. And you really hope that everybody enjoys it, has a good time, but what if somebody doesn't have the right energy? Or maybe their chat is not getting the kind of attention it's used to. So then the vibes are off. I mean, it just feels like anything can go wrong ever. I was watching a collab with the lovely Cha-Cha and with Peepa, and like she looked dead. Now I know like the VTuber models, there's only so much you can do with your like character acting, but like she seemed like she was checked out. And I get it, because there was kind of some technical difficulties at the beginning. But like, I felt so bad for the people who are like, you know, excited for the collab. Yeah, Dench. Yeehaw, good morning, Beamy. How's that Beamy Eye Bunny doing? Alright, and also don't forget that this week, over the weekend, I'm going to be running the mod applications. If you're interested in being a mod, that is when you'll be able to do so. Oh no. We're going to be doing a trial period, as always. And yeah, should be a lot of fun. Actually, not as always. Well, I'm going to try and actually make it like an actual interview process this time. So if you are interested, feel free to apply. If you ain't interested, that's fine too. You ain't gotta. Not required. It is. It's 4:15 for me. But now I know your PST. Get observed. I love coffee. It's nice to have it some mornings. Uh-huh. Tell your teacher I say hi. No, well, I stream every day before I go to work. That's why. That's gonna need a nice roof. I have to think of what kind of roof I want to do on it. There's my horse. My hunts. Alright, I'm gonna take some of these cocoa beans and take them over. Because they are such a nice way of getting fertilizer. Oh, I got you. I'm such a good doggy. Get out of the bathroom. Go do your schoolwork. Get along, little doggy. No, you can be a mod on just Discord. We're currently looking for stream mods, though. It's the primary thing we're looking for. Don't sacrifice your sleep. It ain't worth it. I do 2 streams a day. If you can't catch one, you can catch the other. They will be posting on this weekend. Oh, Poison, you've done an amazing work on those cards, by the way. They look really good. Well... That's a, well, those are some bad guys. Why are they here? I've been in one place for too long that they got upset. Friend request. Yo, we're just gonna spell it out. We're gonna change that one. Thank you for the workshop. I don't know if that's true, Carmia. It gets late at night and you'll be sitting at your desk watching my stream, and then you'll fall asleep at your desk. You gotta go to your appointment. It's gonna be fine. Enjoy your appointment and good luck with it. Good morning, Toya. You definitely. Well, well, well. You ibuprofen? I don't ibuprofen. Do you ibuprofen? Ibuprofen all night long. Mm. There we go. Good morning, Lucy. How you doing? Oh, that's fun. There we go. Okay, sorry, I got distracted. Thank you for the hydrate and the head pads. Go to bed. Okay, here you go. Ready? Go to bed, Danny. Come on. Go to bed. Why are you awake? Get some sleep right now. Hi, little mouse. How you doing? Oh, Nicole Freeze. Sorry if I didn't say it right, but welcome to the menagerie. Thank you so much for the follow. Always appreciated. Y'all keep saying sleep is for the weak. Sleep is for the healthy. Get some sleeps. That's not sleeping, that's just being dead. Well, I'm glad you finally got some sleep. No. Real sleeps are needed. Good, he's doing his job. Of course. We're not really doing much today. I'm just walking back and forth. Alright, sort my boxes for me, please. I don't need any of this stuff or this stuff. We're gonna see if we can go find some redstone, because that's all I really want right now. Oh, I need to go feed the cows. Grow big, cows. And we're gonna do a little bit of a thing here. Where do I want to put this? Enjoy your art. You should definitely do some art. Actually, I probably want to get more resources out of it, don't I? I mean, not be dumb about this. Fine. I need to build out another section anyways. There you go. Gene Poppy's always fun to draw. Thank you. It's so kind of fun to draw. Wait, is that gonna break anything? No, it should be fine. Yeah. Hello, Vinny. How you doing? Welcome in. Good morning. Oh, good morning. Good morning, Ray on a Ray Foron. How you doing? Welcome. Hope you have a lovely time here. Have I been streaming for almost an hour? Oh, just happened. Stream's been going pretty well. Been having a good time today. You're sleeping in the cardboard? Oh, I actually threw out most of my cardboard. That might be why. It's all nicely stacked up. I've actually cleaned a lot of my depression cave. And that means we're getting closer and closer to me actually being able to feasibly do cooking streams. Thank you. One day. But remember, we also need to, there we go. Need to reach a certain point on, like, some goals and stuff. Not sub goals, but on fundraiser. You might be moving into a barn. Oh? Why is that? That sounds interesting. But why a barn of all places? You okay? Oh. Okay, odd. Is the plane gonna be below you? Wait, so why? I'm not gonna question anymore. It probably makes sense to you. I hope you enjoy your barn experience. Oh, gotcha. Let's move this out into the actual farming area. There we go. And there we go. Give me the bone. Thank you. Thank you for the check-in. Welcome. much nicer. Enjoy your grass cows. Do you want to be potato in bed? I would like to eat a potato. I could really go for potato. I really like mashed potatoes too. What's your favorite kind of potato? Potato soup counts. Fries is a good one. Potato does not count as potato. Yet a type of potato, not just potato. Checkers, Rallies, fries. That's solid. Solid choice. Hash browns. Hash browns are good. Case of some hash browns. Soup is good. You do, you do. I'm such a good doggy. There you go. Good morning, Vivi. How you doing? Barbecue sauce and cheese, huh? That's an interesting one. Oh, thank you for the follow, Vivi. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for the auto redeem red. I need more books. We'll go to the mines. I need redstone so I can make my... Oh wait, I have iron. I had an idea. How is that idea gonna work? Let me think about it. I wanted to make an auto miner, an auto smelter that would rely on the copper golems, and I had it figured out how it would work, and I just cannot remember for the life of me. Oh, I needed torches. That's why I wasn't down here. Hi, Rennie. How you doing? Renia. Oh, you know what my struggle with? Do you ever have a depression meal? Like, not a meal that you eat when you're happy, or not a meal that you eat to be happy, but a meal that you eat when you're sad and you want to stay sad. Like I don't like myself meal. Uncooked ramen. Mine is American cheese, or also known as plastic cheese, on white bread. Depending on how sad I am, it's either 1 slice or 2 slice. Come on, brain. We need coal. Coal. Need some wood. Feels like I'm wearing nothing at all. There we go. All right. You just don't eat? That's fair. I feel like most people are like that. They just don't eat. I think it's my body's attempt to be happy, but my brain also punishing itself, you know? Okay, let me think how this auto smelter would work. So need the copper golems to sort it, right? That's the plan. Hey, Ice Knight, thank you for the, thank you. Morning Dar. Okay. So... I still can't figure it out. There's gotta be a way. Hey, Ziggy. Drink water. The blue-haired one? I don't know about the blue-haired one, but I know about the black and white-haired one. Oh, yeah. He might be doing a little bit with me. You need to drink water. Drink some water. Water's good for you. It's healthy. I'm gonna have him do my bit of the basement stuff, and then I'm gonna sneak in and catch him. What about Poem? I do. It's a very good model. But all of us are trying to slowly leave it. Eventually I'll have a different one. Yeah, that's fair. I'm not really feeling a poem right now. Maybe later, maybe right before the end of stream. I'm still trying to think about how I'm gonna make this thing work. And I swear I had it perfect, but it doesn't make any sense now that I think about it. Now we're gonna do a little bit of a... Do you want to start from this side? I think it should work. One. I'm gonna go down one more. Right? Yeah. And we'll see. Honestly, it's a big gamble right now because I don't know how it's going to turn out. I know the artist is amazing, but you know, I've had such bad luck with getting my own models made. To be fair, I paid like $200 for the entire thing in rigging for my one model I had made myself. I didn't make it, I mean, somebody made it, but you know. I'm paying a lot more this time. That'll do. Welcome, Onyx. Did you fall asleep? Because you say it like somebody who just fell asleep. We can do a short poem. Let's do a short poem. Just a real quick one, okay? Oh yeah, no, the art itself was going to be like 1,000. The rigging's probably going to be another 2,000. So it should probably be around 3,000 total. We'll do a short poem. Take this kiss upon the brow, and in parting from you now, thus much let me avow. You're not wrong who deem that my days have been a dream, yet if hope has flown away in a night or in a day, in a vision or in none, is it therefore the less gone? All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. I stand amid the roar of a surf-tormented shore, and I hold within my hand grains of the golden sand. How few, yet how they creep through my fingers to the deep. While I weep, while I weep, God, can I not grasp them with tighter clasp? Oh God, can I not save one from the pitiless wave? Is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream? Hey Grandpa, dream within a dream. Well, see, I like PNG tubers and all, but like PNG tubers, you really, really then have to rely on the content you make. And I feel like it is going to be an upward struggle. Good morning, Ivy. Like, for me, a 3D model or a 2D model like this is so expressive that I can just talk. And the interesting thing on screen is me. But a PNG tuber, while they are interesting, can only be the main focus for so long. And so it's going to rely more on what is actually going on the screen. Thank you, Ocean. How are you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Have a lovely time while you're here. But a dream within a dream. It's true. It is very true. It does depend on the right creator who can do the right stuff. There's the redstone we've been looking for. Oh well, back up we go. So glad we didn't drop down too far. Mm. It does, it does. And I'll say some of the greatest creators I've seen who do the PNG tubers really well are really good like programmers. Yeah, I've been trying to get redstone. Yeah, that's pre-meds do make a good starting point. That's why I'm here. You all right there now? No, not you all counting again. Mm-hmm. 2, 3, 4, 5. It's much easier with a small group. Yeah. And that's about how much a pre-made costs, Lacona. A pre-made is about $20. Mine was maybe 30. Some of them, well, you know what I mean. They like counting. Hmm. What all do you need, Sakona? What all are you needing? Oh, you guys made it to 13. Nice try, though. Alright, let me think. What was I doing? I need to figure out this thing. I was gonna look something up. I'm close. I know I am. I think I know what I'll do. It's gonna be a bit manual, but it will work. Okay. I think I'm almost there mentally. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I didn't see what you wanted, Sakura. Okay, I understand you want all of that. But remember also, the point of getting like the model early on is trying to have something just to have on the screen. And having everything to your lore is not going to be as important as having something that's attractive, that moves around, that drags attention. I think that a lot of issues we have with a lot of VTubers when they start is they want something that is so like specifically their brand and on brand that they end up sacrificing a lot of the functionality and the attractiveness. I mean, like the ability of the model to accomplish these things. And I will say this, as much as your model matters, you want something more that people can look at when you're just wanting to just talk. That they feel like there's still some human connection there. If you just have a PNG, while it does function, you're going to heavily rely on other things in your stream then. Okay. Hmm. And you can always add more stuff to your model. Yeah, you made it to 13. Take a break, y'all. Relax. Y'all don't need to be typing right now. Just hang out. Come talk. Thank you. Alright, let me think. Yeah. I mean, you save yourself some money. You get the full functionality of a model. And when you build a community, people will come and you will be able to afford more things. That's why so many people use the exact same, I can't remember what the name of the model is anymore. But there is a model out there. I don't know if you've all seen it. It's a customizable model. It's not like your classic anime style, but everybody uses it. And I think it's because it allows just enough font customization that they can feel unique. Yeah, that one. It's not a bad model. But I'm not really a fan of its stylings. I even had some friends who used it in the past. And I think that's kind of, it really goes for the people who like, There's a lot of people who just want to have their own uniqueness so badly that they will pay the $110 or 100 or however much it is. But there are some amazing models out there. My friend just picked one up that it's like $30 and has some more features and rigging than almost any other model I've seen. Oh, you can do that. So you can get a model without ears and add ears afterwards. Yeah. You can't combine models, but you can get bunny ears separately and add them to a model without ears. I've seen a few VTubers do it. For instance, I can add a tail to mine if I really want to. Hello, Sparky. Welcome. Thank you all for checking in. Thank you for the headbands. Yes. Not all of them. In Sakona, you have $20. I'm using the same model everybody else is using. I have done like so much stuff with a model that barely had any rigging and did extremely well. You don't need it to be perfect. Get it done first. You can make it perfect later. But if you are held back endlessly by wanting things to be perfect, you'll never start. Exactly. Make it exist first, then make it perfect later. Okay. Yeah. That's what holds back a lot of VTubers. I mean, there's one streamer. Yeah. I had one streamer friend who never kept going because they kept wanting to make new overlays and new models and new stuff, and they wanted to do all these things, and they only had like 20 viewers max and never got past that point, and they were so burnt out all the time because they kept having to make all this stuff. And you know how they finally got over it? They started completely over with a pre-made model, just did the singing stuff they wanted, barely put anything on any of their scenes. They're already at partner numbers within like within a month. Okay, this is what I need. I need to go down with it. Good night. Sleep well, Keely. Okay, that should work there. Born with it. Awesome, EP. And tall. And I hunted a man in my youth who granted me the powers of speaking deeper. Thank you for the follow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you miss a single stream, because I do 2 streams a day, it's not. It has to be a stream within a 24-hour period. Okay. I do need redstone. Dang. Good morning, Jabberuni. Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. It is 5 a.m. You're right about that. For me too. Y'all are allowed to miss streams. I hope you know that. Like, I know that y'all want to maintain the streaks, but like, y'all, you're good. Don't worry about it. Oh, I was wondering why there was a lot of text going on. Hello, Hoshi. Good morning, hon. How you doing today? Hello, hello, lovely raiders. Hoshi, would you like a poem? I can read you a short little poem if you'd like. Oh, honey. I'm sorry to hear that. What happened? Something happened? You okay? You can always DM me. My DMs are always open to you. And thank you for the follow, and thank you so much for the raid. If you need a raid and run, feel free to do so. I'm gonna read a Robert Frost poem. The classic one that we all read in school. Two roads diverge in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Okay, Hoshi, understand. Then took the other just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for the passing there, had warned them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no stop had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, in knowing how ways lead on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverge in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Yeah, I hope you get well. Rest up. If you need anything, let me know, okay, Hoshi? You know I care about you. I need that redstone so badly. Of course. Mm-hmm. Sleep well and rest. Relax. Mm-hmm. There we go. I knew I saw movement over there. Mm-mm. There was this guy. Oh. There it is. Hello, it's kitties. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, Bella Beauty, for following, and thank you, Lilith Lulls. Welcome to the menagerie. I would love a cup of coffee. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. You gotta make coffee for everybody, I'm sorry. You offered. I always think it's funny if you ever offer somebody to do something like, hey, I'm gonna go grab a blah blah, you want one? And then somebody overhears you and suddenly you're doing an office coffee run. It's like, I just wanted to give this one person coffee. I don't care about all of you. I don't know if Ray said Hoshi, but feel free to raid and run if you need, and you just want to relax. Y'all don't need to be... Y'all, don't worry about being late. I start my streams at 3:30 a.m. If I expected y'all to be here, I wouldn't be doing my morning streams. There's no way I can expect people to be here all the time. A 3-gallon pot? Ooh, that sounds amazing. I will have all 3 gallons, thank you. Okay, sweetie. Y'all ever accidentally induce a panic attack? I was thinking about it right now. When I was younger, I didn't really understand like the effects caffeine can have on you. And I drank, like, I made a double strong coffee pot. And I drank the entire thing. And I'm like, why is my heart racing? Why is everything going crazy? Why am I panicking? It's like, because you idiot, you, thank you for the head pats. You decided to overdose yourself on caffeine. It's like, what do you think is going to happen? And I was still surprised. It's like, oh, what? Crazy. Why'd that happen? Do I have a vocal stem? I do. I go, I have quite a few vocal stems, so that's my primary one. Which is funny. I took my Japanese class yesterday. And, the lady was doing the same thing. She did the And I always forget that it comes from like Japanese idol culture. Like the Japanese idols became VTubers, the VTubers then influenced other VTubers, etc., etc., etc. It's just so interesting to me sometimes. The way these things kind of, you know, build up. Technically, it's a stem. I mean, it's also like just like yeah. But it comes from the Japanese idol culture. Wish I had diamond to repair these picks, but we're gonna need to go to the nether to get more quartz. I'm not looking forward to that. That's rough, guys. Why are you doing this to yourselves? Well, see, coffee usually doesn't actually give you energy. It will cause you to block the dopamine receptors. Not dopamine receptors, the, I can't remember what the chemical is, the ones that let you sleep. And so it doesn't give you energy, it just makes you not sleep. But caffeine itself can cause heart palpitations and racing and all that kind of stuff. With enough caffeine, even if you don't really feel it mentally, you will probably feel it physically. I wish I had a way to automatically feed them so I didn't have to come back here all the time. My life a little bit easier. Yeah, ADD will tend to have that problem. Where caffeine is actually going to help you, your mind kind of like calm down a bit, which will make you more tired. Well, yeah, don't do that. Goof. That reminds me of the classic thing about like, person being like, oh, I broke my finger in 3 places. Well, don't go to those 3 places anymore then. True. It doesn't necessarily mean ADHD. It could be. It could not be. It could be anything. Dog, do you want to go with me? You don't want to go with me, that's okay. And also we have dopamine deficiencies that cause ADD-like similarities due to us frying our brains with content. Hello, silly Silky. How you doing? Welcome. I could have sworn there was lava around here. Where'd the lava go? Fine, I'll just take the obsidian. Oh, it's right here. That's silly. Yeah, back to the nether. I need quartz. I need something here. This might work. I have a theory I want to test out real quick. Let's see if I do this. Won't burn. Okay. Do we have any lava around here? Any lava? No lava? No lava. Dang. So disappointing. Well, oh. I'll do. I can't remember if it works if you put it inside or outside. We're gonna test it. Oh, good morning, honey bun. How you doing? This is taking too long. Never mind. I give up. I think like it will burn out and it'll light the thing on fire, but I don't have time to figure it out. Hiya, honey bun. Okay. Shoot, I hate being this high up. Hi, Valero. Is that so, Valero? You absolute goof. Sorry, I'm trying to make you feel November. I don't know if it's working, but I'm trying. Oh, God. You whisper back. JD. Alright, come on. Quartz, look at all that quartz. Oof. I know, I know. I'm trying my best to be very, very careful. I remember. I actually forgot the 5th of November this year, which is kind of disappointing. I will not. Well, I don't have another pickaxe. Fine, 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 since you have such a problem with it. Are we happy? Are you happy now? If you hit the check-in and you can just do exclamation point lurk, you're fine. hate the nether. I see it go down is what I need to do. I peel my banana from whatever side I feel like peeling it from. I usually just snap mine in half. It's so nerve-wracking. Thank you for the lurkies. Quick, easy. Nerve-wracking, get it? Because another rack. You just snap it in half. Oh, what do you mean? Just do it. You gotta do it with speed and effort, though. If you do it slowly, it won't snap. You rely on its tensile strength. I think it's called tensile strength. I might be wrong. It's the physics of anything really snapping. You do it quickly, and you cause it to snap instead of bend. Yeah, your stomach would also explode, though. Okay, I think that should attract my attention back here. Heard something spooky. You were hunting for Why are you all chopping popsicle sticks in half? What's going on? Morning, Nix. Morning, morning, morning. Oh, okay. I think it's funny. I don't know what the justification is for piglins not attacking you when you're wearing gold. I like to imagine they're just like, oh, we don't attack the rich. They're just capitalist pigs. They're just like, look at this dude swag. He might not be a pig, but hey, he's got style, he's got grace, he's got gold to put in your face. Mm-hmm. I am scared. Then go take a nap. I know you don't want to, but you should. Get your eeps. Get your maximum eeps. Yeah, it's enough quartz for now. Oh, there we go. Of course, we spawn back and it's nighttime. Sorry, I'm super focused right now. Alright. Almost. Thank you for the hydrate. Now we're safe. Whoa. Gene time. Oh, it is time. Alright, we're back here. Chat, my lovely, 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 lovely viewers. It is now 5:30 a.m., which means that I need to get to work. Yep, I know. It's not what I want to do. If I could stay here, I would. But I don't have the option. And unfortunately, all of my ASM artists aren't online. Do we risk somebody new, or do we just decide to, you know... Yes, Nia, it's time for me to get to work. Hello, Nia. I did turn off TTS. I don't know why it looks redeemable. Don't try to redeem it, please. So unfortunately, I'll probably just have to go right out to Shrimps, because I don't really have time to find anybody else.
I'm a professional streamer.
So we're gonna rate Shrimps. Y'all say hi to Shrimps for me, okay? Y'all be good. Y'all behave yourselves. I will see y'all next time. Just say hi to the Shrimps. You can say whatever you want to them. They'll behave themselves. Mwah. Y'all been amazing. Y'all been fantastic. I appreciate you all so very, very much. Bye bye, lovelies. Mwah, 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 mwah.